Hello, everyone.
Hello.
If you're watching the replay, give us a few seconds while we get started here. Today, we are going ahead and we're going to continue with the Magic and Mindset Monday. This is episode 2. We'll continue with it for as long as Spirit tells us to. Not going to force it, just going to kind of go with Spirit as everything else
That you do.
that I do. Hello, hello, hello.
Oh. When you're done with that, put this up. Just up. No, like over this.
Oh, it's fine. Okay.
Gotcha.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Sam is back by popular request.
Allegedly.
So Instagram just sent out the notification.
Yeah, it just popped up. I saw that.
Hello. So we are doing our second episode of Magic and Mindset Monday. Last week was the debut, but it wasn't on a Monday. It was on a Tuesday, but we're going to do it on Mondays. For as long as...
For as
long as Spirit tells us to.
Are you okay?
She's like, she goes crazy whenever I'm live.
Every time you turn on the live
I'm sorry to hear that. So Miss Purdy said that we always do this when she's at work. Sorry.
Gotta do it when the energy's there.
Somebody said, Emmanuel said that some people have the Wi-Fi of NASA because they came on there so quick. She just wants attention. So my cat is going crazy again. She just wants attention.
She got a new toy for Christmas.
So she wants attention.
She's excited.
Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. So today, as always, we go very much with the flow. So Spirit is always the one that decides what we're going to talk about, what we're going to do. So today, I was like, there's so much when it comes to magic and mindset. And in this, I want to touch base on a little bit of magic and things like that. And of course, a lot about mindset. But this is going to be more of a free-flowing thing. So topics that Spirit thinks are important for us to talk about, at least with the experience that we have working together, her working in her own independent thing with trading and how that plays into her spirituality and how spirituality plays in, because it's also important too. Because when I speak about spirituality, when I speak about magic, I speak of it from the perspective of someone who knows that it's real, who knows that it works, and who knows, because this is something that's been in my life my entire life, since birth. So I never had to really remember. It was almost like I always was remembering and everyone else was always fighting me on what I was remembering to be true. Whereas with Sam, she had other beliefs, she had other experiences, and even though she's also a very, very intuitive person, she had to fight to remember who she was again. Fight to remember who she was on a spiritual level, because we went through different forms of programming. So today we want to talk about the concept of deprogramming and remembering, okay? Because a lot of us, we're going through this experience. We might have either just woken up, so we might have just gotten introduced to spirituality, to magic, to the fact that, newsflash, 2020, magic is real, conjure is real, and the powerful elites of the world have been using magic in their favor, while telling us to not believe in it, okay? And a lot of the elites of the world have been using magic for centuries to gain power, to gain wealth, to gain the things that they desired. And sometimes they went about it the wrong way. Okay, so it's really important to, newsflash again, remember, conjure, magic, spiritual spirits, they're real. And I knew this from when I was born. Thanks to the family that I chose to incarnate into. I'm gonna actually speak from a perspective of my higher self. My higher self knows that I had other lives. My higher self knows and understands, and it was a little bit hard at first when I started to remember my past lives, because I had to learn how to categorize each life into, okay, that's something that happened in this lifetime, that's something that happened in another lifetime, and I had to get through some fears in this lifetime that had to do with things that I encountered in previous lifetimes. And a lot of us may dream about our past lifetimes, or some of us may have a traumatic experience that untaps the remembering, and then they get classified as certain dissociative disorders or schizophrenia or multiple personality disorder and things like that. And there is a mental aspect to those things. However, a lot of the times the mental aspect of it does not tap into the fact that there is a spiritual reason. Okay, there's a spiritual reason. So having the consciousness and the memory of who I was since I was very young, and having a lot of people around me kind of try to tell me, like, no, that's not real, that's not really how life is. And see, since I was a very young person, I always believed that people were innately good and that people innately wanted love. Mm-hmm. That's what I believed since I was a little girl. I had a lot of family members that fought me on that tried to tell me, there was obviously the family members that were more spiritually awakened had an understanding that yes, this was true, that most humans want love, want to be good. Okay. But then I had some family members or some friends that had a very negative outlook on life. So when I had the opportunity to meet my higher self, one of the first questions that I asked was, what did I incarnate here for? What did I come here for? And she said to me, you came here to remember and to love. So that was a pretty big concept for me, because I'm like, okay, how am I supposed to love? How am I supposed to love people, even the people who are being mean to me, even the people who are leaving horrible comments on my page? Or how am I supposed to love everybody? And Spirit said to me, you just need to do it. Just do it. Just remember how to do it, because your soul in its my soul had already gone through those lifetimes where I was the evil one, because all of us have to realize that there is no such thing as you only being your soul only being good or your soul only being evil. It's more about what power, what side of yourself do you step into, okay? And
I just
so it's not about you being good or you being evil. It's about who do you choose to be. And I can tell you that I know for a fact that there are other lifetimes when I wasn't the good guy. I was the bad guy. And my higher self said to me, you had to experience that, because you had to be a mirror for certain people. You had to be a mirror for the heroine, or the mirror for the hero of the story in that lifetime. And so that they could fulfill their life purpose, so that they could do what they needed to do. Okay. So that is where I continue to start tapping more and more and more into the remembering of what it was that I incarnated here for. I tell you, each and every single one of us incarnated here for a reason. We have different steps that we're on. So if we look at ascension as a ladder. We have different steps that we're on, but that doesn't mean that one person that's ahead of you cannot go behind you if they didn't learn their lesson this lifetime. They can go to the back of the line. No me tiren mal de ojo. But yes, thank you guys. So what was I saying? Right. So all of us are on this ladder of ascension, and that doesn't mean that just because somebody's ahead of us on the ascension ladder that they're better than us, that they're more powerful than us, or that they are just simply in a different place. Okay? And that doesn't mean that if someone that is ahead on the spiritual ladder maybe decides, as on a soul level, you know what, I'm not gonna do what I know is right or what I know I'm supposed to do here, that they won't fall behind. Okay. So what it's really important is to remember, why do we believe what we believe? So why do you believe? Why did you, before you woke up, why did you believe what you believed?
Because somebody else told me something or tried to tell me something that, I don't know, like, for the longest time I didn't believe in much. Like, literally, I literally kind of like lived under a rock. I was the kid that was like, I was kind of a loner in school, but I was always happy about it. If that's, I don't know. They told me it was not normal. They put me in counseling and like child behavior.
So you're being even further programmed.
Like I went to go see like some sort of, what do you call it? Like psychiatrist or child psychologist or whatever they do. I don't know the term. But they put me there because they thought there was something wrong with me because I didn't talk to people or take an interest in people from such a young age. I took interest in very particular, specific things like sports and music and like, I guess nature, like animals was my thing. I had this great affinity for animals. That was like literally all I cared about in life. So like as I just kind of took everything else that that didn't resonate with me, and I just like shelved it over there. Like all these other people would be so ingrained in, I don't know, religion, like having friends and making friends, socializing. And I was just over there talking to myself, like sitting by myself, playing in my yard, happier than a pig and you know what, because nobody was bothering me. I was having the time of my life. I'm a creative mind. So I always imagined a lot of things and kept myself entertained in my own little universe here, and I was so content. But it was like everybody on the outside thought something was like wrong with me, like, or that I was a shy person.
They were projecting on you.
Yeah, that I was a shy person. So I was always introduced as being shy because I didn't talk too much. My mom or my family member or whatever would introduce me like, oh, she's quiet, like, this is Sam, she's quiet.
I can promise you she's not quiet.
I'm not quiet if I like you.
She just doesn't vibe with people.
I didn't, and that's always what I kind of said, but when I was a teenager or like a preteen age, I didn't know how to express this, what we know now to be like spiritual energy, like being able to sense. We now are aware of our superpowers that we've had all along, and the fact that we're energy and we can feel energy. So I've always, without knowing or being like, without remembering as a child, but being comfortable with myself being alone and perfectly like at peace with it. Like I don't think people understand how at peace with being alone I am. It makes like, it's made things, my personal life a little bit difficult for other people because I'm so comfortable being by myself in my own world where I don't necessarily engage the way other people do, so they don't know how to take me. But I've never, going back to your question, we went around. Well, going back, like the question was like, what made me believe in what I believe? Being surrounded by people, from birth, like think about it, right? We were talking about this like earlier today, I think, or last night. From birth, you are born and birthed into a world. Even if before birth, there are people outside of yourself are putting expectations, subconscious thoughts that they want or wish for you when you come into this world to grow up to be.
Emotions.
Imagine I'm just going to go with it. Here we go. I don't know. We're going in. I got one. Okay, we're going. Just ride with me. Okay.
Just go.
Trust me. Okay. Imagine your mom, or I don't know, maybe not your mom if you didn't have a great relationship with your mom and you hate your mom. I don't know. But imagine a mom that's pregnant, right? Carrying a child. And imagine the father, talking to the mother's stomach, right? Hoping, probably some of them hope that it's a boy. They want it to be like their mini them.
Henry Tudor the Eighth.
God, no. No, I don't wish that upon any woman.
Yeah.
But imagine the father, some of them want boys to be like mini thems that they can teach to be and grow up into maybe a really good man, like a good, provider. I don't know, whatever they aspire for them to become. Or maybe they have...
living vicariously through others.
Whatever they forgot to do or didn't think about doing, they want to make sure they give their kid. Maybe that's the dad talking to the mother's tummy. Or maybe it's the dad that wants a girl. And he's like, she's going to be my princess. She's going to be... she's going to be so beautiful at her wedding day. I can't wait until that day. Like, having all these visions and dreams, and there's nothing wrong with, those type of desires, wanting for someone. But imagine a society that amplifies that conditioning, that type of programming that's passed down to kind of basically put these labels and these expectations on your unborn child before they even get here, and then have other people controlling your process as a parent, right? That has
There's no music on, by the way. Someone just said the music is too loud. They can't hear you. There's no music on.
There's no music on, period, at all. What?
I don't know.
Maybe you got mad gifts of some sort that we don't know about,
sort of
where you
musical.
can hear spiritual music.
Yeah.
In a different realm. But yeah, there's nothing on. But imagine that father, kind of projecting your desires upon that.
Their desires.
Whatever. On that mother and that child, right? And that child comes into the world, they're being birthed, and from the moment they're coming out, somebody's already touching them. Somebody's already trying to figure out if they're a boy or a girl, okay? And then they've already, at the point of, where they usually clip the umbilical cord. You're already at that point now been tainted from a natural process. The natural process has ended at that point. Because that's not the way that was supposed to have been done. You're supposed to be connected for a while with it or whatever, even after birth. But anyways, that's just besides the point. But imagine you come out and they're putting a name on your wrist that somebody else has given you,
Social Security number.
You immediately have become property of the U.S. government with your Social Security number and your birth certificate. You have become an asset to the United States corporation, because that's what it is. If you didn't know, it's a business, and we are all numbers that belong to an asset class, the most valuable asset class that there is in the world.
Human souls.
Yeah, human souls and labor. So in essence, anybody that has a job and works for somebody else actually works for the U.S. corporation, United States corporation, because at the end of the day, you're not sovereign. So I think this is kind of where it was going, is think about this. When you were just a spirit, a little ball of light, floating somewhere in a different realm, a different space and age, a place, very distant from here. You're just a ball of light. You have some sort of soul name at the very core of you, a God-given name. And we're born over and over into this world through different vessels, different mothers, right? We're born into this world, and every time for the last several thousand years, it becomes more and more tainted, that process that happens, at how much control and how much projections of these different beliefs, these different expectations, and these systems that are you're immediately expected to become a part of. Like, you don't even have a choice. Like, the parent at this point, the way it is right now, truly doesn't have a choice in pretty much everywhere in the world.
But we have a choice in being aware that we are in the matrix made by others. Therefore, by being aware of the matrix, then we can learn to control the matrix to the inner power that comes from our soul and our spirit. And by remembering the fact that we are within a matrix created
by man,
and
also,
but it is also still being intercepted, I guess you could say, by the creators, by our spirit guides, by other forces that are greater than the matrix itself. So the way that because we don't want to completely lose hope, and there is a aspect of a lot of us, especially those who are still asleep, those who have not awakened, will forever be slaves to the matrix. But those who have awakened know that they have the ability to control the matrix, that we have the ability to control the process of the matrix and to become sovereign and independent from the matrix.
Like, I'm gonna go on a quick little tangent, but like, free from the matrix, like, I do a lot of different research of my own, because I'm now becoming I realize how much we've been drinking the Kool-Aid. We're like raised to drink the Kool-Aid, as one of my former bosses would say all the time. But we were drinking the Kool-Aid.
Oh my God, Nay is in labor. Pray for you. I pray for you.
Oh my goodness.
Blessings.
But
remember, with this conjunction, we were broken from this matrix, and now the matrix is being remade. So now it's up to us to remake the matrix from what it was into what it needs to become.
I forgot what I was saying because you read a comment.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was going in a good. We were gonna go. We were on the way. Oh, I remember. Okay, so I was saying I was doing research. I liked it. I'm now kind of like obsessed with being informed, because I realized how much we were the Kool-Aid. Here we go. Okay, drinking the Kool-Aid. Okay, here's the Kool-Aid man. My mind. So, what did you expect?
I don't know. Just speak.
But I'm obsessed with making sure that I get the information that is gonna help me like deprogram and unlearn the false stuff that we've been told, because I'm a Libra, so I want like justice, and I feel like if I'm now informed on all those things, like I can get myself back into like more of a sovereign place. And I was researching, something came up in front of me, and I actually
to navigate the matrix.
Yeah, so learning about how, well, kind of like seeing what they do in the matrix, but like getting through the loopholes of that to still be able to not have it apply to you, like as much as they try to make it apply to you and make it like impossible for you to get out, because you're always being programmed. Every direction you turn, you try to get away from it, and then you turn around and there's somebody else over here. Like everywhere you turn, you're always finding somebody who's trying to push their belief on you and program you again. Like it's like you just deprogrammed, and now you're encountering somebody else who's like it just crossing your path somehow, and it's like a test from, I guess, like spirit. Like, are you gonna listen, or are you gonna stay uncomfortable going through like the unlearning process in order to finally remember, get to the point where you are able to be back into that pure form where you remember again.
Mm-hmm.
And oopsie, bye.
Block party.
Bye. But yeah, where you remember again, because it's so hard and difficult. That's why people are having such a hard time with this whole waking up and understanding, like,
and why
the
so many
spiritual
people,
awakening that they call it.
When people wake up, there's a lot of depression. There's a lot of sadness. There's a lot of healing that has to happen, because people wake up and they're like, it's your spirit guides trying to go, hello, you were put into a matrix. Now you have to remember so that you can influence the matrix properly, so that the matrix can move in the direction that it needs to move in. Because the matrix is a collectiveness. It's a collective consciousness. So if those who are, so in order for us to control the matrix that is a collective consciousness, we have to be conscious. You have to be consciously awake. And I'm not talking about like new age woke, okay? I'm talking about awake on a level of spiritual awake, where you know that there's a connection between you and God and the Creator, and know the fact that your DNA, on its soul level DNA, your DNA is mixed with God DNA. So we are not taught about certain civilizations before the Egyptians, because they don't want us to know that our ancestors were mutated. They were actually mutated with God DNA. So once that mutation happened, then it started the human race of Homo sapiens as we have them now. Okay? And this is happening again. We are again being mutated by the goddess, so that we can, as a collective consciousness, reprogram the matrix. But only those who know how to program the matrix, and only those who get over the depression and the hopelessness and the sadness of the fact that they weren't in charge of what was happening.
And they got duped.
If you don't get over that despair that you have that you're living in a matrix and you think that you have no control over it, if you don't get over that despair of like feeling like there's nothing looking out for you, and you don't realize that there is a creator, there is a creatress, that you too are part of the creator, and therefore you too have the ability to change the matrix. If you do not become conscious to that aspect, because a lot of people wake up but they stop there. And what a lot of religions have done, and a lot of spiritual practices have done, is that they have woken up, right? But then they try to put it into this framework that's going to fit everybody. And what the reality is that all of our missions are so unique within the matrix that no religion, no spiritual practice is going to fit everyone. And that is what spiritual religions and practices have a hard time. And why a lot of these religions and practices have led to people fighting each other and killing each other and hurting each other further is because you want to try to apply something that is supposed to be a unique experience and try to program every single person in the world to that experience, which is one experience of the matrix. Okay, rather than the understanding that the matrix is a collective consciousness, and that if you are aware and if you seek to heal your portion of the matrix, and then you heal your God code, you heal the human aspects of the code of your genetics that is not yet reached God energy, then if you don't heal those aspects that are the darker aspects, we will continue falling into the dark aspects of war and famine and despair and sadness and depression. And that's where the trend spirituality becomes an issue, because the new age spirituality trend just tells you, oh, love and light and everything nice, which is true. That is what our God-like energy is like. But our shadow energy is still there, because even God, even the creator, had darkness. So we have to, as a collective, heal the darkness in the matrix so that the matrix can move forward with a clean slate, like the goddess said today. And moving forward with that clean slate and starting new, creating from the light rather than creating from the darkness. And having that understanding of that everything is not going to fit everybody. And that every single experience is different. Mm-hmm. Because in the end of the day, we are all sovereign. We are supposed to be sovereign. Even though there are systems in place that try to keep us from being sovereign, we are innately sovereign.
Can I tell you something real quick?
What?
This brings me right back to that what I forgot about that I remember now. It's perfect. Like, phew, perfect. You couldn't have done better. All right. So, like, talking about systems in place that make it so that it's, like, impossible. Even they give you this word of freedom here in the United States, right? But it's not that at all. For instance, one quick thing that I definitely recommend is, I can't read that.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Oh.
It's not about you.
Oh, I thought it was a note.
Mm-hmm.
So the one thing that I recommend, anybody who really likes to know and doesn't like going and just accepting information as they hear it, but is unbiasedly like into researching, look up, I think it's like freefromgovernment.org. Freefromgovernment.org. I learned recently, like this week, that I technically didn't need to do certain things that I have been doing because I thought it was law, like it is law, but I didn't realize, I didn't know about, I mean, she studied constitutional law, hello, I didn't study anything to do with law, I couldn't care less about it growing up, but I realized that there's so many things that I'm not going to talk about like in detail, but if you go to freefromgovernment, I believe it is .org, it is very insightful as to how something that pretty much almost everybody that's probably watching this right now does every day and pays for every month, and has paid for maybe every couple of years, you know, as far as like things that the government here in the United States makes you do in order to, let's just say this, to drive a vehicle on the roads. That's what I'm just going to say. I can't go into details about it because we can get like censored and like reported. So go to that website, freefromgovernment.org, I believe it is, and check it out and you'll see what I'm talking about. I actually bought one of their kits. I was like, oh my God, I am exercising my constitutional rights. I am not doing this and driving around with this on my car anymore. I am not doing this, blah, blah, blah. And I bought one of their kits. But those of you who go there, it was something I had no clue was actually like an issue. Like I'm always studying like conspiracy stuff, but I'd never heard of this type of thing. That I was being basically duped as what I thought I was. I thought I was a citizen, and it turns out I'm not that either, according to law. But go to that site and you'll see what I'm talking about how you're truly not sovereign. In pretty much anywhere in the world, you're not sovereign, and especially definitely not in the United States the way it is. It's very interesting, a very insightful site that may lead you to some revelations, like it led for me, and it's just like literally mind blowing. How much we're conditioned and programmed, and almost we are definitely feared into believing these crazy things like that we take as fact without question, out of fear because of penalties of law, this or that, whatever, legal things that we don't want to have any repercussions of. So automatically systems, again, going back to the beginning, systems are in place so that from the moment you pop out of mama, you are not sovereign. You don't have your own identity. You don't know your soul name. You don't have even time to possibly ponder if the name that you've been given is really your true name, or is why some people eventually go through their life wondering and feeling like their name isn't their name. Like, you know?
But the first thing that we have to do in order to get out of the programming and get out and wake up, when we first wake up especially, is conquering our mind back. Because that's exactly why we're doing the Magick and mindset. Because magic, everything in the matrix, in our realities, starts with our mind. It starts with our intention. So if you see yourself as not sovereign, right? Okay, what steps can I do to get control of my mind back? And then get control of my reality back, right? Okay, I depend on, I depend on such and such to feed myself. Okay, how can I become more independent? How can I, above all, control my mind and know that there are certain things that are boundaries for me? And somebody asked, how can you protect yourself? Okay, protection starts with your mind. Any protection spell that you're going to do, the protection items that I have in my line, those are all things to assist you in being protected because they have their own consciousness. However, because in reality, the only free consciousness, if we are not in control of our own mind, in control of our own beliefs and our own remembering, the only true free consciousness in the matrix, you could say, are the plants and animals and all of those things that have their own independent spirits and consciousness.
Basically everything except humans.
Everything except humans.
Go figure. Because we are given this free will.
Yes, because we have this free will. We have the free will to either allow ourselves to be slaves to our minds or be the masters of our minds. And the masters of our minds, and every mind is a universe. So as a collective mind, we create the matrix. So
because it really is all about the belief. Yeah. Like if you actually believe it.
Yeah, and there is nothing in the matrix that has not been thought of by a human mind. By one of our minds or many of our minds. And even if you're doing it out of fear, when you feed your fear into the matrix, even if it's something you don't want to happen, when you feed that fear into the matrix, what you're doing is actually reinforcing the programming of someone else that does want something to happen. For example, let's say that you're afraid that there's going to be, I don't know, some crazy event, and you are afraid of this event happening, but there are other people that want the event to happen because it might benefit them financially or whatever. You, with your fear that you're feeding into the matrix, you are unknowingly also giving power to that which you do not want to happen, because the universe, the matrix, does not understand, oh, I don't want this to happen. It just understands the energy you're sending to it. Just understands the energy you're sending to it, and then that energy just accumulates and accumulates and accumulates and accumulates and creates this huge snowball effect. So that is why, so the first step to deprogramming ourselves and starting to remember is asking ourselves, what do we believe to be true that actually isn't true? Because there's a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth that now is being perceived as false. And then there's a lot of false that
is being taken
as truth. And there's a lot of false narratives out there that are being taken as, oh, that is the truth of the world, even though it's not the truth. And the things that are real, like spirits and magic and conjure and the power of our minds, we're being told that is not real. Okay? Or that energy isn't real. When energy is something that you can feel, you can sense, you can encounter. Okay? So the first step to regaining our mindsets to work our magic is to start by deprogramming ourselves and thinking, okay, what do I believe just because I was told to believe this is true? Where is the opposing evidence to what, because it's part of that law of correspondence. Believing something will make it happen eventually. Not instantaneously, but it will make it happen eventually, and eventually you will see it in your reality. Another thing that Spirit suggests is also getting in tune with your energy, with your own energy, with your chakras, with the energy of the earth, with the energy of the planetary movements and the lunar movements, because all those things affect us and affect the matrix and are part of the matrix as well. So it's kind of like they're feeding each other. It's like like a relay back and forth, right? The moon affects us, we affect the universe. The sun affects us, our energy collectively affects the movements or affects solar flares, or they kind of affect each other back and forth energetically. Even though that's not what our scientists are telling us to be the truth, there is a lot of spiritual documentation of how a world event can affect the entire universe, and how the universe can affect the entire world events and certain movements. Obviously, like we just had the Great Conjunction, and the last time that we had this major planet come near us, there was the Great Flood, that's described in the Bible with the Noah's Ark. So, and that flood was actually caused by a movement of a planet which is believed to have been the planet that hosted the original DNA of the gods that actually mutated our DNA and ended up becoming part of us, and ended up causing things like the Great Flood because of its planetary movements. So, and so many of us feel that we have no power because we've been told we have no power. We've been told, okay, you have to just go to school. If you want to be anything or anybody, I'm not saying not to go to school, but to be anything or anybody, go to school, get a job, keep your head down, get up, go to work, come home, maybe spend a few hours with your kids if you have kids. Maybe watch a little bit of TV, then go to sleep, and then do it all over again. And it feels like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and expecting a different result, or expecting happiness to come from something that has no meaning. Right?
I was to say, I was thinking about how I think my awakening might have started. I thought it started my real awakening, after the whole thing in 2015 with happened. But I think it actually kind of started earlier than that, when I quote unquote got sick, and I allowed that phrase to take over my life. It was really more the phrase of what the diagnosis,
owning the diagnosis,
was, and allowing my diagnosis to basically
to overtake
my life and my whole everything. I think it was truly, and I've reflected on this a lot over the years, on and off. Every now and then, I'm I really think that had I not allowed that, I would have actually gotten better, but I allowed, again, somebody else outside of my own, what should have been a sovereign mind and heart and soul, been able to intuitively know what was going on with my body. I could have, if I hadn't had all those people around me and all that conditioning brought up in my life that I had to listen to a doctor. I'm not saying don't go and consult a doctor if you have to, but literally today I meet so many people who have been open to holistic health, doctors and stuff, that are oh, it's normal, oh yeah, I go to them. But I'm talking from experience, 10 years ago, nobody was doing that. Very rare. Nobody was going and talking about holistic health doctors or going to a nutritionist all the time and consulting them and another doctor to get a bigger picture. I grew up around people that literally the word nutritionist wasn't in their vocabulary, to be honest. So holistic, never heard it until I was like 20 something. So like that's kind of the type of upbringing I had, where it was just like listen and trust the doctor and do what they say. And like I literally have thought about it so many times. I'm like, it's not the diagnosis, it's not that my thyroid is completely like in despair and irreparable and all this stuff. It's come so far over the past couple of like 2 to 3 years of just a little bit of help and like changes to my daily routine, changes to my mentality, working on the 5 main pillars like spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and financial understanding, to get to a place where I was able to reflect back and realize that it was more the power of letting somebody else's words have power over myself, letting somebody else's words cast a spell. And I've thought about this. I always said maybe it was just somebody through something.
To make
back
it clear, we're not saying don't go to the doctor.
No, I already said that. Okay. I said that in the beginning.
Just
but
saying,
I'm saying
the diagnosis.
letting somebody else's words. It doesn't matter if it's a doctor or somebody else. It was also other people before the doctor even said anything that were projecting things like, oh, you could have this. Oh my God, it could be this. Like, oh, that's going to ruin like your life, blah, blah, blah. You're never going to like be able to do this again. You're going to lose your hair. Like my hair was starting to fall out. Like I had this big bulge in my neck out to here. Like my eyes popped out of my head. Like I was shaking and trembling to the core all the time. Like I was lightheaded, and all that stuff. Had migraines like up the wazoo, all these things, and gaining weight like rapidly out of nowhere. First I lost weight and I became brittle. Like I lost like 30 pounds like within like a month. And I looked like a skeleton for my height and my DNA. Like I did not look healthy one bit. And that's when I knew something was seriously wrong. But then they put me on certain medicine. After I went to 3 different doctors because something in me, intuitively I knew, like, no, go see another doctor. I don't care what that one said. Let me go find another doctor. Because the first one was trying to tell me that I needed to cut. This lady was going to cut open my neck at the age of 23, remove the most important organ in my body, basically, and think that I was going to stay on medicine the rest of my life and that I should just be hunky-dory with that or do the other thing, which she said I was going to take like radiation, like iodine pills and stuff, radioactive iodine pills. I was like, wait, yeah, I'm getting there. Don't worry about it. It's a story. Okay. I got it. Okay. And she was telling me basically that I had to put like toxic material into myself. So this is like, I guess really my like beginning of my spiritual awakening. Like spirits must have been around, like trying to tell me, like you need to go get another opinion, go seek further information. That was kind of like the beginning of somebody from up above going, like wake up, hello. And it took like years though. After that, it was like another 6-7 years before like I was basically forced to start waking up when something tragic happened to someone else in my life, and just kind of like it was like a light switch, like just automatically turned on, and just all these things started happening. But I think a lot of people just accept all these things and allow other people's words, other people's projections, other people's like expectations to kind of cast these spells or create these blockages in their psyche, like that they can't get past. Like something intuitively is trying to tell them from above, like source trying to tell you, yo, that's not the truth. Like there's more to it than this, or you are more complex than what they're trying to slap on you as a label, or you don't
or
fit,
diagnosis.
or their diagnosis, or these boxes they're trying to fit you in. Like you don't fit in a box. You were never created to go in a little box, like 4 walls, boring. Like no, you're supposed to be a co-creator. You're supposed to bring your visions to life. Like they're not just gifts, they're tools that we're given to create and be architects in this plane reality, of existence and create our reality
in the matrix.
And yes, and so we have the ability to do that. And I think a lot of people like myself, I could say it from experience because it took me so long to allow my old reality to be shattered I knew that it was true, and I needed to let it shatter.
Mm-hmm.
But it was so hard to give up all the things you know.
Yeah, that's the hardest
all
part.
the things all the people that you're like, when you start learning about toxic relationships and toxic this or that person,
have
to put boundaries, and that's okay, and you're not a terrible evil person for doing that, because now you understand what a narcissist is, right? So a lot of people are probably gonna hit the like button on
vampires.
That, but yeah, like all these people, all these things that you start to realize, revelations that are occurring, and you want to know more. Like you get that little bite of the spiritual awakening, and you're like, ooh, like at first you're like, oh my God, what's this? And you intuitively know it's there. You felt it in your life over the ages, during different years, maybe a few years apart. You've had these profound dreams or these profound experiences, this just inner knowing of some sort of time or memory that you have was a meant to be. It was a divine timing, divine setup, and you don't know how you know that or why you even recognize that, maybe as a young person, and then again in your teenage years, and then again as your 20s, and then again now in the 30s. Like people go through this, like you have a knowing, but then there's that part of you, which is the other part, that's like so conditioned by other people's beliefs all these years, and it stops you from looking, like actually pulling the curtain back on that bug that bit you and that spiritual awakening journey like you want to embark on. But like some of us, because I was there, are just so stubborn to it, because it's going to make us change. It's going to force us to change, because we are aware that nothing changes if you don't change. But some of us, depending on our signs, are harder to push and to actually take action to change. It might sit up here in the mental realm for like years, and we'll talk about it, but like we won't act on it.
And somebody posted earlier today, earlier in the live, and they wrote, "No sorcerer will inherit the kingdom of heaven." And it's funny to me when people say those things, because that is literally word for word the words of the Bible. And not to say that everything in the Bible is bullshit, but there is a lot of bullshit. Because a lot of the Bible was written by man. A lot of it, and it was written as a book of spells. It was written as a spell book to enchant you. And if you look at the history of the Bible, it was actually stolen from a series of predictions from Sibyls, which used to be a sort of oracle, women oracle. Okay, and the thing is that you take stuff, you steal from the oracles, you steal from the from these divine psychics, these divine oracles, and then you reinterpret it so that other people feel that them doing the same thing that you're doing, which is taking from the oracles or listening to oracles, is evil, so that you continue to be in darkness, you continue to be programmed, and you continue to be enchanted by others rather than allow yourself to see the truth. Okay. The Bible has a lot of great lessons, but it also has a lot of deception inside of it. Because why? Because the Catholic Church fell to Satan, to the one thing that it teaches you to be so afraid of, a very long time ago. Because it started falling the moment that it started using the Bible to make people afraid of their own power and make people afraid of connecting to God themselves, connecting to spirit themselves, connecting to angels themselves, connecting to our ancestors, or connecting to any energy that is of the higher light vibration. And the biggest trick that Satan played on humanity is making humanity believe that that the beings of light did not exist. Because if you can make a whole bunch of people, millions of people, be so afraid of you, Satan, however, at the same time, afraid of connecting to their own spirit guides, afraid of connecting to God, to the angels, to the saints on their own and themselves, teaching them to also fear God all the time,
subconscious
and
programming
continue
of fear.
to feed the fear, then that gives even a bigger power source to the one thing that you're being taught to fear to begin with, which was Satan and the demons, right? So if you continue being
totally
taught, it's like a circle. It's like a Jedi mind trick.
Jedi mind trick.
Of like, it's like reverse psychology. Have you ever guys, anybody who has children, may have used reverse psychology on their kids? Like, you tell your kids, oh, fine, don't clean your room, it's fine, whatever. And then all of a sudden your kid starts to clean your room because it's confused as to like, wait a minute, why did my mom just tell me not to clean my room? Something's up and something's going on. I need to clean my room because something's going to happen and I'm going to be caught with my pants down or whatever. So a lot of these religious texts, what they have done is they have been corrupted by people who seek to maintain the power to themselves. Okay? People who seek to maintain the energy to themselves. So then what do we do? In order, the best way to keep something secret, to keep something yours, is to make somebody else afraid of that thing.
Can I give an example? All right, I'm going to do a really kind of like PG example here. Okay.
I.e. sorcery or magic or whatever you want to call it.
So, for instance, let's take the Catholic Church as a very good example. They tell you in the Bible to basically that magic is evil, right? And that you shouldn't perform it. But tell me what's going on in church every Sunday. What are they doing? They are burning incense. You're drinking the blood of Christ. Yeah. What else we got going on?
You got flowers on the altar.
We got earth represented right there on an altar, a magical altar. Wait, what am I missing?
You have prayer.
Fire.
Prayers, incantations.
Prayer, which is spelling and incantations. We're reading.
If you're in Catholic Church, then you have Latin incantations, which are spells.
Ooh, we're getting really high up there. And I mean, we're all using our belief in that to give it more power in congregation. So we have a coven. A mega coven. Some of y'all got some mega covens out there. Hustling.
Yeah, some of those Christian churches got some
down
mega
south
covens.
And stuff, but not in Arizona. But like
candles, thank you.
Candles, yeah, like fire.
Candles. The 4 elements.
Now
Which by the way, if you haven't joined my VIP group yet, my magical VIP group, we're starting elemental magic in January.
Yeah.
But as a side note, using all of these tools that we utilize
in magic,
right? Except now,
and it's okay for them to do it.
Now we're just calling it religious veneration.
But it's okay for them to do it and call it just by calling it another name. Like, and I mean, a couple of things like we were talking about, like we're looking at a little suspect, like pharaohs of ancient Egypt. They had certain symbols and certain things they wore. And I mean, you look at the Catholic Church in the Vatican City and the Pope, and you're like, oh, geez, this looks like a...
The Pope is a pharaoh.
Oh, he's wearing one of them pharaoh caps, ain't he? I mean, you start like once you go through and you start researching and not just listening to people and taking certain things as fact at face value, but like you start doing real research and you're like tying things together and you're like, huh. I knew something was suspect there.
The moral of the story being that you can't just throw out the baby with the bathwater, right? So like a lot of people throw the bathwater.
Who does that?
Right? So like a lot of people, they don't like religion. They don't like what's in the Bible. But there are certain aspects that are useful. There is some knowledge that is useful. Okay? when I say baby with the bathwater is when we look at the religion of whatever religion we're looking at, and it has so many similarities to ancient religions and practices. That doesn't mean that there's no truth, right, to the faith that people have. For example, a lot of people, because they became disillusioned with the church, with Christianity, have turned away from believing in Jesus, or have turned away from believing in the angels, or have turned away from believing in the saints.
From one extreme to the other.
You go from one extreme to the other. So you throw out the baby with the bathwater, and that is why it's really important to not just believe what your religion is telling you, but actually believe what Jesus is telling you, or believe what your saint is telling you, believe what your angels are telling you. Believe what, and learning to identify and to remember how to reconnect with your spirit guides, with your guardian angels, with your saints, okay? Because all of us are born with a patron saint or with a patron guide, okay? Yeah, so you have different practices, like when you catch the Holy Spirit, that is possession, that is channeling. Okay,
but they don't recognize what you would do.
You have to understand.
They don't see it as the same thing.
But they are being. You have to understand when someone. The reason why I brought that up is because a lot of us become very angry automatically at people that say things like that, or that throw the Bible at you, or that thump the Bible on you. But we have to step back and realize that they are projecting their own programming. Mm-hmm. They are projecting and spreading their own programming. And if you, as a person that is not awake, that is not aware of many things in the spiritual and the religious sector, you will automatically either become very angry at that person or believe what that person is saying and become very fearful and join in their fearfulness. Mm-hmm.
I am super selective about who's allowed to be around us.
So everything, it's becoming aware of what is programming you and whether that feels true. Mm-hmm. Whether that on a spiritual level, on a internal level, it's just why it's important to become aware of your own energy. Mm-hmm. Okay? What feels true in your intuition, in your gut, versus what other people are telling you is true. That's really what this entire life was about, mm-hmm. that we rambled on forever. It's about identifying what feels true to you, what innately feels true, by connecting to your own energy first, by connecting to the energy which you were given by God, the power that you were given by God, connecting to that power so that you can become sovereign again, so mm-hmm. that you can deprogram yourself and you can start remembering what you came here for. Okay? So that is, and not throwing away the baby with the bathwater, because, maybe religion isn't for you, but maybe, Jesus is. Or maybe religion isn't for you, but maybe, some sort of God or goddess of light is, or, whatever you decide to venerate or honor is up to you, is whatever feels true to you. Mm-hmm. So maybe religion doesn't apply, which is the bathwater, but maybe the baby or the center of that religion or the center of that spiritual practice might actually be what applies to you, might actually be what feels true to you. Mm-hmm. So you have to go in,
and that's okay,
and understand and be also respectful that what may feel true to you may not feel true to someone else, or maybe the archangels may feel true to you. Because what may feel true to you may not feel true to someone else, because they may not be at your level of understanding, or they may be below your level of understanding, or they may be above your level of understanding or remembering. Okay? So everyone is at a different place. Mm-hmm. So everyone's at a different place of reprogramming and remembering. Mm-hmm. So what may feel true to us may not feel true to someone else, may feel true to someone else, may not feel true to us. And then you'll find this miraculous miracle that happens where someone may feel that something is true as you feel it as well, and have that synchronicity of having that validation of someone else also getting the same message as you. All right. But not judging others for their different beliefs. And that is one of the biggest mistakes that we have made as humans, is that because we are afraid of other people's beliefs and we want to dominate with our beliefs, we have killed and hurt and severely damaged each other.
And like the process of remembering.
Like
just putting more stuff in the way to make it more difficult.
So there will be even more blockages to us remembering.
And then you pull away and they ask you why, and you're like, I'm like doing this spiritual thing. I'm like trying to do some like self-love, self-care, and they're like, oh, that's like weird. And then you're like, I can't even like do that without somebody like, judging me for it, like, and because they're programmed, and it's like this really repetitive thing. But
judges have
gotta keep going.
Judges have no choice. There's this Dominican saying, no hacen ni dejan hacer, meaning they don't do and they don't let you do either. It's like judges have no chores. Because while they're minding your business, who's minding theirs?
Because they don't got nothing going on.
Exactly. So
nothing to mind.
Judges have no.
That's why they can look and they can focus so much time on someone else. Got nothing going on.
Exactly. All right, y'all. So that's it. I know we rambled a lot today. I hope that some of our rambling helped you out. If you would like to join my VIP group, it is opening up again on January 1st for sign up. So if you would like to join the VIP group, that's opening up January 1st for sign up, and the link will be available in bio. Much love and blessings to you all, and I will see what.
What's today's date? The 28th?
I think so.
Don't forget that up until the 31st, there's still a time for you to save on the High Priestess May Magical Collection.
And the tarot course.
Yes, and the tarot course. So those links are in the bio as well. No coupon necessary. Just there's always people that are asking. That's why I'm saying it. There's always people that miss it and that ask after the fact. So saying it. If you want anything to do with that, you know what to do.
Yes. Link in bio. All right, guys. Have a great
Shameless
night.
plug.
Shameless plug.
Good night.
Have a beautiful night. Bye-bye.
Blessings.